Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Experience Kills. I'm your host today, Ben, and with me today is Rob.
Hello everyone. How are you all doing today? How are you getting on, Ben?
I'm pretty good. Rob, we're here today to talk about Bridge Constructor, The Walking Dead. And Rob, tell the listener and the viewer your experience with these two particular franchises.
I have as much experience with Bridge Constructor games and The Walking Dead as I do skydiving. I have never played a Bridge Constructor game or watched a single episode of The Walking Dead in my 28 years of life on planet Earth.
I am so glad I picked you to co-host this particular video. I made the right choice here. Fantastic. So, Bridge Constructor The Walking Dead is brought to us by Clockstone Studio, who have made all the previous Bridge Constructor games, and Head Up, who are the publisher. And basically, at this point, Bridge Constructor is kind of a subgenre of puzzle game in itself. They've been around for a long time, they're well established, they have a particular type of physics-based puzzling in which you basically build types of bridges or, constructions that will get you from A to B in various different scenarios. Now, they've done stuff with other franchises previously, like Portal, which actually, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense with a Bridge Constructor. Portal from here to a portal there, it makes a lot of sense. When I initially heard about this relationship with The Walking Dead, I was a bit befuddled, to say the least, and it was kind of announced at the same time as this Series X kind of unveiling, and that's when I saw it and went, what? But now I was really curious as to check it out, and I'm really glad I've actually had some hands-on time with this because they've done a remarkably good job of making it make sense, which I thought was going to be a real struggle, but they do certain things with characters in this. There, for example, is a established character in the Walking Dead universe called Eugene, who's kind of the troubleshooter, the guy who comes up with the constructions and the things and helping build the bases and how to make, the water purification work and stuff in the TV show. And he's kind of the Bridge Constructor guy, if you think about it. It makes sense. And then you've got Daryl, who's a survival guy, and Michonne, who's a combat lady. And they meet some sort of very specific characters in this as well. And there's actually a real emphasis on story in this game. There's quite a lot of narrative and dialogue and stuff going on with these characters that we already know from the TV universe, connected with these new characters from the game, which is a nice element, which I, again, was not expecting, but it draws everything together. And the other big mechanical change that we have here in this Bridge Constructor game, which is new as far as I know, I haven't played all the previous games, but as far as I know, this has not existed previously, is this form of direct control that you can take over the survivors when dealing with the various walker threats that they are going to come across within this universe. And that works with this sort of node system, where you can give the survivors specific commands, like go up a ladder, move left here, move right here, do a sort of an action on, say, a control panel. And that way you can do things like constructing some kind of bridge to get to a control panel to then, say, release a giant crate that will fall down and crush a bunch of the walkers. And then you can get to the exit of the level and move on to the next puzzle challenge. You see, it makes sense. And it's sort of the biggest gameplay change we've seen in the Bridge Constructor universe. That it's quite a fundamental shift. The idea of characters that you need to protect within these levels, rather than just sort of an abstract, you need to get a car across a bridge or a lorry across a bridge. This is more like you need to make sure you keep these survivors alive when they're dealing with the zombie walker threat that's happening within the Walking Dead universe, which is really interesting to me.
It sounds like they've managed to tie up walkers and bridge constructors in a way that I would not have originally anticipated. I mean, you've seen The Walking Dead. I believe you are a fan of it. How faithfully do they work on that? Because if I was wanting to play a themed franchise game, I would want it to be a faithful reconstruction, and aesthetically on point, thematically on point. I'd want it to hit all of those notes. How does it do in that regard franchise-wise?
So other than the sort of Telltale Walking Dead games, which actually sit apart from the TV series, they're more related to the comic book series, there have not been really any good Walking Dead video games. They've all been bad so far. And this is probably the best licensed TV show Walking Dead game yet when it comes to actual writing, when it comes to characterization, when it comes to realistic threat, and when it comes to the settings and the milieux that you would expect to see within the Walking Dead universe. I was actually really impressed. And you have to, of course, suspend some disbelief with the way in which you are constructing bridges or pathways or traps or various things in this game. It's done from a obfuscated management perspective, i.e. you kind of go into construction mode and then you build with, in this case I'm playing on the Xbox Series X, the controller, and you lay out the direction of where you want the wooden bits to go and where you want the cable to go, and then you basically just hit apply and you have a resource limit, and then it's built. It's like magically constructed, so you're not having actual people build it. But to be honest, if you can suspend your disbelief with that, you then build a construction. You're then going to send Daryl down across a thing. He's going to go into some walkers, he's going to cut their heads off or beat them into a pulp as he goes through, hits a node, you tell him to go right, flick a switch, then this thing will do this thing and it will move, and then you can escape the level. Something else I liked is that characters will have their own specific abilities. For example, Eugene can throw this like a doll that will make a noise which can attract the walkers. So this all plays into the puzzle aspect of each of the levels, so that you need to draw the walkers to this particular place so you can drop a thing on them, for example.
Okay.
So maybe you're going to have to deal with some timing aspects. So you've got to build a construction so that one of your survivors can run across it while a large heavy object is falling from higher in the level, which is then going to crush the bridge, which has got the zombies coming across it, the walkers coming across it, in this case shambling rather quickly, and then take them out, but not your survivor. So there's some interesting stuff here, but it all makes thematic sense. And it's fun to do, and it's challenging. These games are, in my opinion, pretty damn hard, especially if you want to keep your constructions within the resource limits that you're given in the game. If you go outside the resource limit, you basically don't get like the gold star at the end of the level. So you can overbuild and just sort of have fun with it, but you're not going to get the rewards that you need to progress further into the game. You're not going to get the unlocks. You have to go back and tweak it and improve it and stuff. But there is a challenge to that, trying to minimize what you're using, trying to think about, what the best ways of using your resource points are into building these very elaborate constructions and stuff that are sound, so that you could obviously, when you build them, as someone that doesn't know Bridge Constructor, they'll have things like weight limits and structural integrity, and if things go over them that they can't sustain, they'll collapse and you'll fail and you have to do it again. And it's a very quick restart in these games, and you can make a few tweaks, make a few changes, do a bit more building. Oh, maybe this will work, test it, or it didn't, do it again, test it, it didn't. There's a lot of trial and error, and that's the fun of it. It's kind of a sandbox, it's creative, you can have a really good time experimenting with different ways of finding a solution for that particular level, because there'll be many ways through it, and your way will just be one, and there'll be other ways that other people will come up with. All at the same time, we're in this Walking Dead universe facing these walkers, so there's more of a direct threat in these levels than we've had perhaps in previous Bridge Constructor games. It's less of it's not just a sort of a mental challenge, but it's a survival aspect as well. So it does bring another layer to the challenge and to the puzzle that we didn't have before. So it's really cool. It's different. It's weird. I didn't think it would work, but it does.
It does sound quite interesting. If I was a Walking Dead fan, I probably would pick it up.
I mean, even if you're not, right, and you just don't mind, zombie fiction, in this case, walker fiction, as it were. But if you don't mind that concept, you don't find them inherently terrifying. I know some people have a real phobia for the undead, but if you don't find an issue, it doesn't matter if you don't know who these characters are, because they all interact in their own. There's a story inside of this game. There are new characters in this game as well. And I think if you're just looking for a challenge, if you're looking for something that is a bit different, creative, but there's also kind of layers to it, almost like a programming aspect to how you move the characters around, the survivors around this level, and how you got to get the timing right and stuff like that. So everything has to come together just right. Even in the early levels, they are quite tricky. So if you're looking for something like that, this is a different type of experience, enhanced for the X and S. I think it's got quick resume and it runs really nicely and stuff. It looks great in 4K. I would recommend checking it out. It's a surprising success for a licensed tie-in game that I could not see how was going to work, and then played it and then was completely won over.
Sounds very interesting.
So I think, unless you've got any other questions, that'll be the end of another episode of Experience Kills.
Indeed. I think that ties it up nicely.
So, if you'd like to find out more about what we're doing at Experience Kills, you can find me at DIYE on Twitter, you can find Rob here at Homeless Mr. Gibbs, and you can find us all at Experience Kills. Please give us a like and subscribe on this video. We're approaching a massive milestone. It'll be a real great treat to us if you can join us in our little family of followers on YouTube. It'd be amazing. And if you don't have time to watch all these lovely videos, you can also hear them all in a beautiful podcast, which is available from basically anywhere you can find a good podcast. So I think, Rob, we'll have to get our machetes and our, what's he use, crossbows, and fight off the undead walker hordes. Sorry?
I don't know why you're asking me what they use.
Well, you've got a big sword right there. You can't see that if you're watching, people, but he's got a big sword. He can definitely use that to fight off the walkers. So let's go and do that. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.